A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. The Count's New World. In the grand and bustling Hotel Metropol, Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov found himself confined to a small attic room, a stark contrast to the luxurious suite he once called home. The Count, a man of refined taste and wit, was sentenced to house arrest for a poem deemed a threat to the revolution. His new world within the hotel's walls was a far cry from the opulent life he had known. The Count's first day in the attic was one of adjustment and introspection. He surveyed his new quarters, a cramped space with a sloping ceiling that barely allowed him to stand upright. The room was furnished with only the essentials: a bed, a small table, and a chair. The Count sighed. "Well, Montaigne, it seems we shall become even better acquainted," he said to the book in his hand, a collection of essays by the French philosopher. As the days passed, the Count began to explore the hotel beyond his attic prison. He discovered a hidden compartment in his desk, revealing a stash of gold coins. A glimmer of hope in this wooden fortress, he mused, realizing the coins could be used to secure necessities that were beyond his new means, or perhaps to negotiate small favors within the hotel, subtly acknowledging his reduced but not extinguished capacity for influence. One afternoon, the Count met with his bankers in the hotel's lobby, a rare allowance by his captors. "Gentlemen, let us restructure the investments to ensure liquidity and longevity under my constrained circumstances," he said with a charming smile, his mind racing through scenarios of long-term survival under these new confines. The Count also struck a curious arrangement with an old Greek man, Stavros, who frequented the hotel. "3 notes, my dear sir, delivered discreetly to specific recipients beyond these walls, and our business is concluded," the Count whispered, handing over the carefully penned messages. These notes were requests to old friends, asking them to safeguard parts of his heritage and to keep alive connections that might prove pivotal for future endeavors. Amidst these strategic moves, the Count's humor was a balm for his isolation, and his stories became a bridge to his past. He fondly recounted memories of his sister Helena, whose portrait he had chosen to bring with him to the attic. As he shared these tales with the young maid who dusted the frame, it served as a seamless transition to his present experiences in the hotel, showing his adaptation to the current circumstances. As he settled into his new routine, the Count found solace in the hidden luxuries of the hotel. He befriended a young girl named Nina, whose curiosity matched his own. Spirited and precocious, Nina was the daughter of a senior hotel manager, often left to her own devices. Together, they uncovered the hotel's secret corners, from the basement's boiler room to the treasure trove of the silver service room. Nina's inquisitive nature led the Count to create a secret study in a forgotten alcove of the hotel. There, surrounded by books and artifacts, the Count taught Nina mathematics and shared with her the wonders of the world through opera glasses, a gift that symbolized their bond. This mentoring deepened their relationship, establishing a profound, almost familial connection that enriched both their lives. Through his interactions with Nina and the hotel's guests, the Count's influence within the Metropol remained undiminished. He continued to mentor, entertain, and inspire, all while confined to the hotel's walls. The Count's new world was one of limitations, but also discovery and resilience. He adapted to his circumstances with grace and humor, finding joy in the small freedoms and connections that life at the Hotel Metropol afforded him. And so Count Rostov's journey of transformation began, not with a step outside, but with a deeper exploration within. Nina's curiosity and the secret study. In the grand and timeless Hotel Metropol, young Nina's footsteps echoed with a rhythm of curiosity. She was a sprite of a girl, with eyes wide and bright, always searching for the next hidden corner, the next secret to uncover. On one such day, with the sun casting golden beams through the high windows, Nina found herself in the company of Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov. "Count Rostov," Nina called out, her voice a melody of excitement. "I've found something marvelous." The Count, who had been lost in the pages of a book, looked up, his eyes reflecting the spark of intrigue. "And what might that be, young Nina?" he inquired, closing his book with a soft thud. Nina, with a sense of urgency, led the Count through the hotel's labyrinthine corridors to a bright blue door, its paint chipped and its handle worn. The door creaked open, revealing a room that shimmered with silver and porcelain. "It's the hotel's banquet service," Nina whispered, her voice filled with awe. The Count's gaze swept over the polished silverware, the Sevres plates, and the tall samovars. "Such splendor hidden away from the world," he murmured. Nina pointed to a satinwood bookcase that held volumes of forgotten stories and memories. "These are for your secret study, aren't they?" she asked. The Count nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Indeed they are," he replied. Amidst the hidden luxuries of the Hotel Metropol, Nina's curiosity and the Count's wisdom intertwined, continuing the legacy of their secret study. Artistic solace and gentlemanly conduct. In the grand, gilded halls of the Hotel Metropol, Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov found himself a prisoner of opulence. Yet within these walls, he discovered a sanctuary in the arts, a solace that transcended the confines of his house arrest. One crisp morning, as the sun cast a golden hue over the hotel's lavish lobby, the Count sat in the corner of the grand dining room. His mind wandered to the melodies of Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker, which played softly in the background, a reminder of the joyous Christmases of his youth. As the day wore on, the Count's suite became a salon of sorts, where friends old and new gathered to discuss art, literature, and the changing tides of the world outside. Their conversation was rich with shared memories and laughter, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of art to uplift and unite. Here, in the heart of the Metropol, surrounded by the echoes of creativity and the warmth of companionship, the Count had found his artistic solace and conducted himself with the grace of a gentleman, unbroken by the chains of circumstance. The night unfolded with the sharing of dreams, a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. Traditions and remembrance. In the grand dining hall of the Hotel Metropol, Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov stood with a glass of brandy in hand. The clinking of silverware and the soft hum of a violin underscored the evening's elegance. "Count Rostov, your table arrangements are impeccable as always," said Mr. Petrov, a regular patron of the Boyarsky. "Thank you, Mr. Petrov," the Count replied. "It is but a small effort to preserve the traditions that make dining here an experience." The Count smiled at Sophia, Nina's daughter. "My dear, this place is full of life and music, much like your Aunt Helena loved." The night continued, and the Count raised his glass in a silent toast. As the clock struck midnight, the Count reflected on the enduring legacy of love and remembrance. Intertwined fates and culinary triumphs. In the grand dining room of the Hotel Metropol, anticipation was palpable. Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov, with his companions Andrei, the head chef, and Emil, the maître d', was about to unveil a special dish. This bouillabaisse was not just a stew. It was a symbol of their shared journey and the memories they cherished. The Count, known for his impeccable taste, had carefully planned this moment, much like he navigated life's complexities within the hotel. His path had intersected with many, each encounter enriching his life's tapestry. As the bouillabaisse was served, the Count reflected on his role as guardian to Sophia, Nina's daughter. Her presence had brought laughter, learning, and love into his life, revealing a depth of affection he hadn't realized he possessed. The room filled with the stew's rich aroma as Andrei and Emil looked on with pride. The Count, addressing his friends, said, "This meal is a celebration of our resilience and all we cherish." They knew the bouillabaisse represented more than culinary skill. It was a testament to their spirit amidst adversity. Enjoying the flavors, they were reminded of the simple yet profound pleasures of life, even within the Hotel Metropol's walls. Sharing this meal, the Count felt the deep bonds of friendship and the richness of life, undiminished by the history unfolding outside. Guardian of Sophia. In the grand, echoing halls of the Hotel Metropol, Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov found himself in a role he never anticipated, guardian to a bright-eyed girl named Sophia. The Count, once a man of leisure, now faced the challenge of raising a child within the confines of his gilded cage. One morning, as the Count sipped his coffee, Sophia approached him with a question that seemed to weigh heavily on her young mind. "And what if the cake never rises?" she asked. "Then we shall enjoy the batter just as much," the Count chuckled, winking at her. As the days turned into weeks, the Count's initial apprehension about his new role softened into a deep affection for the clever girl who had so unexpectedly entered his life. And so, under the Count's watchful eye, Sophia grew not just in stature but in spirit. She became a beacon of hope and a testament to the Count's belief that even in the most unlikely of places, life could flourish. For in the end, it was not the grandeur of the hotel that mattered, but the simple, enduring connection between a guardian and his ward. Unexpected joys and enduring bonds. The grand ballroom of the Hotel Metropol was alive with the sound of laughter and the soft clinking of glasses. Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov, once a man of great influence, now confined within these opulent walls, watched with a gentle smile as the hotel's inhabitants mingled and danced. The Count's life within the Metropol had become one rich with connection and purpose, filled with the enduring bonds he had formed with the hotel's residents. These relationships had transformed his existence, proving that life's truest joys often come unexpectedly, wrapped in the warmth of companionship and the shared moments that become cherished memories. Cultural reevaluations and personal journeys. In the grand, echoing halls of the Hotel Metropol, Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov and his young charge, Sophia, found themselves in the midst of a cultural whirlwind. The Count, with his silver hair and impeccable manners, was a relic of a bygone era, while Sophia, bright-eyed and brimming with youthful exuberance, was the embodiment of the new world they were both learning to navigate. One evening, as the Count settled into his favorite armchair, Sophia burst into the room, her cheeks flushed with excitement. I've been invited to perform at the conservatory," she exclaimed. "That's wonderful news. Tell me, what will you play?" the Count responded, his eyes reflecting his approval. "Chopin's Nocturne," Sophia replied with a smile. The Count, though initially taken aback by Sophia's choice of attire for the performance, recognized the changing times and supported her decision to express herself through her music and presentation. As the performance day neared, the Count observed Sophia's dedication to her practice, her fingers gliding over the piano keys with a grace that belied her years. On the night of the performance, the Count accompanied Sophia to the conservatory. The audience, a blend of tradition and modernity, watched as Sophia took the stage. As she played, the beauty of her music captivated everyone, and the Count watched in silent admiration. After the performance, as they walked back to the Metropol under the starry Moscow sky, the Count recognized their shared journey of cultural reevaluations and personal discoveries. Despite the uncertainties of the changing world, they were determined to navigate it together, with their shared love for art guiding them. Loyalty and escape. In the dimly lit corner of the Hotel Metropol's grand lobby, Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov sat with a stoic grace that belied the turmoil brewing within. His eyes, once filled with the mirth of 1,000 balls, now reflected the resolve of a man who had decided to seek political asylum, a monumental decision that would alter the course of his life. Across from him, Richard, an old friend turned Parisian intelligence contact, stirred his tea absent-mindedly. "Alexei," Richard began, using the Count's familiar name, "the offer stands. Your insights could be invaluable to us." The Count shook his head, a wistful smile touching his lips. "My dear friend, there are things in life one must refuse on principle. Espionage, I'm afraid, is one of them for me. But the risk..." "The risk," the Count interjected, "is part of the life I choose to lead. Not the shadows, but the light." Their conversation was interrupted by the soft patter of footsteps. Sophia, the Count's young charge, approached with a question in her eyes. "Uncle Alexei, will you really not miss anything from here?" The Count's gaze softened as he looked at Sophia. "My dear, I will carry the memories with us. They are the true treasures of life." Later, as the hotel slumbered, the Count and Sophia moved like shadows through the corridors. They paused at a door marked with a discreet symbol, the emblem of the secret society to which the Grand Duke belonged, indicating a hidden compartment within the desk. They descended to the basement, where the Count selected 2 Baedeker travel guides for Paris. "For our new adventure," he whispered to Sophia, who clutched the books to her chest, her eyes betraying a hint of apprehension mixed with excitement. As they reached the train station, the Count felt a pang of nostalgia. He turned to Sophia, his voice steady. "Remember, my child, we are not running away. We are moving towards something new, a life of freedom." Sophia nodded, her eyes bright with unshed tears and the promise of the future. Together they boarded the train, leaving behind the grandeur of the Metropol and stepping into the unknown. Their hearts filled with hope and the silent vow of loyalty to each other. Legacy and Power Vacuum. In the grand echoing halls of the Hotel Metropol, Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov paced with an air of contemplation. The once bustling corridors were now silent, mirroring the hushed streets of Moscow, where a power vacuum had left the city holding its breath. "Uncle Sasha," called out a young voice, breaking the Count's reverie. Sophia, his adopted daughter, approached with a furrowed brow. "Why is everyone so quiet? Is it because of the man on the radio?" The Count knelt to meet her eye level, his face softening. "Yes, my dear. The man on the radio was our leader, and now that he's gone, people are uncertain about what comes next." Sophia tilted her head, her dark eyes reflecting a world of questions. "But why don't they just choose a new leader?" "It's not that simple," the Count explained. "Imagine if your school had no principal. The teachers might all think they know best how to run things. It can take time for them to agree." Sophia nodded, digesting the analogy. "So, what will happen now?" The Count stood, taking her hand in his. "Now we wait. And while we wait, we live. We play our music, read our books, and remember that life goes on, even in times of change." They laughed together, their voices echoing off the walls, a reminder that joy could be found even in the most uncertain of times. Outside, the snow began to fall, covering the city in a blanket of white, a symbol of new beginnings and the hope that even after the harshest winters, spring would always return.